So I'm going to go to type, and I'm going to go to type and then show hidden characters. Okay? So it looks like there's a hard return that's been set between these lines of type. If you don't want that additional spacing between those, you can put your cursor before the beginning of the first letter of the paragraph and hit delete. Now the only bad thing is it goes to the next line. Now what we want is we want a soft return. A soft return will avoid that problem of having extra space between the paragraphs. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key and I'm going to hit return. And what it's done is it breaks the line, but it does not go into a new paragraph. And the little icon, instead of having a backwards P icon where you hit return, you have a little backwards rotated L, a capital L for lack of a better thing to call it. So that's a soft return. Oops, excuse me. Let me zoom out. And we're going to go ahead and do a soft return for anything that looks like it's got double the lines. So I'm going to put my cursor before the word experienced, hit the delete key, hit shift return, it moves it down the next line. Now I don't use soft returns real often in excuse me, in some of my designs. Most of the time you can avoid having to do this, but in this case it's adding an extra space between all the lines of type for these sentences, for these items. So I just want to get rid of those. Okay. We don't want the we don't want that extra space. And this is actually a proper way to manage this. It seems like a lot of extra work, but this is how we do it. Okay. Now, if you're working with somebody who, like an editor who typeset stuff, you could actually sit down with them and discuss this issue, and while they're typing something out, you could ask them to use soft returns instead of hard returns. Okay, so now things do not have double spacing or extra spacing. The only thing that has the extra spacing is the end of the paragraph. Technically, this is all one paragraph. And how do I know that? I know that because it's only got one backwards P. If it had 3 of them, like it did before, it would have been 3 paragraphs. Okay? So I just did what are called soft returns. Now another thing I saw while I was here was I saw hyphens. Now hyphens are not good. In newspapers, they don't care about the hyphens because they're trying to get as many words on a page as they can because they don't want to spend a lot of money on the paper. So in the body copy, what I'm going to do, well, we can see up here in the paragraph panel, hyphenation is checked, which we don't want. Now I'm not going to uncheck it here because I already have a paragraph style done. So don't do any additional formatting, again, in the paragraph or character control or formatting controls after you've created a paragraph style. So instead, I'm going to double click on the paragraph style and I'm going to look for the word hyphenation. And I uncheck hyphenate and I hit OK. Now, those hyphens for manage, that hyphen's gone. Any other hyphens are gone. Good typography means you don't have very many hyphens, or none at all, preferably. Now, sometimes we have to have a few, but most of the time we can manage without them. Okay, so basically I'm trying to easily get this stuff into digestible chunks of information. Now I'm going to hit the W key so we can see what's going on, and it seems like things are just still a little bit tight. So again, with using my paragraph styles, I can do something about that. I double click on whatever paragraph style I'm going to be altering. In this case, it's the body copy. I would like to add an additional amount of space after that. There we go. Now things are starting to become a little bit more organized as far as the visual hierarchy goes. You want an equal amount of space without having to work real hard at it. Now, if you had all these individual text boxes, if these were all individual text boxes, you would have to measure the space between all of these and remain consistent. Okay. Now, for something like this, this is also a body copy paragraph style. I don't necessarily want that indented as far as it is for the profile. It looks a little too far out. So if I only am doing this once, sometimes I will fudge this a little bit. And up here is the left indent for the paragraph formatting control. Now this will, if I do any additional formatting, there will be a plus sign that will pop up next to this paragraph style. So I'm going to take this down a little bit, this indent, and I'm going to take it to about where the indent is for the name of the company. Now you'll see there's a plus sign now. That plus sign means that there's been an override, meaning there's been additional formatting that's been done after the paragraph style was created. Now, if you were to just click on that, it will automatically go back to what it was before. So you don't want to do that. So I'm going to hit Command Z. Or if you say, hey, please no alterations, take away the plus sign, it will also do that. Okay, so we're going to have to live with this plus sign. And since I only have this once, I might be okay by not creating a paragraph style. So I'm going to look further and I'm going to see if there's anything else that feels like it's too far indented. And it does look like these things are too far indented. Well, if you have more than one item that's acting the same, or you want it to act the same, then you might as well go ahead and make a paragraph style. So what I'm doing here is I know this formatting is good. It's the way I want it to look. So what I can do is highlight this text. And this is basically what I'm going to show you is creating a new paragraph style. So I click on the little item next to the trash can. It creates a new paragraph style. It calls it paragraph style 1. I have to click on that name, paragraph style 1, and then I'm going to double click on it to rename it. I'm going to say, body copy, less, let's say smaller, left indent. Now I usually name my paragraph styles something very specific because I can't remember from one document to the next what I've done. So this helps me understand what it was my intention was. Now I'm going to take these guys, and I'm going to say body copy, and it's smaller left indent. There we go. Now, what I could do with InDesign, Quark Express, Photoshop, and Illustrator is I could make that body copy. The only problem is I got a soft return in here, so these are the same paragraph. Let me go back to type. Excuse me, let me just hit the W key. There we go. Type, show hidden characters, and that has a soft return. So I'm not stuck with this, but it gets a little bit more complicated. So I would say, well, let me make you, you can't just say, hey, I'll make you body copy small left indent. Well, this is all one paragraph. There's only one backwards P here. The rest are these little funky little mirrored and rotated L's. So you're like thinking maybe you're thinking this. Maybe you're thinking, well, let me put my cursor before InDesign and hit the delete key. So I hit the delete key. Then I hit the return key, and I'm like, oh, no, there's too much space here now. Well, I will go ahead and tell it that this is body copy for that indent, but now I have this to contend with. This is body copy, smaller left indent. It has a space after it, and so does this one, which I do want. So now I'm going to have to take the space after this off. So where's the space after paragraph? It's up in the paragraph control formatting or formatting control. And I'm going to take this is the space after right here. I'm going to take that down to 0. Only bad thing is there's a plus sign. And I have to use this formatting over again. So what do? I create a new paragraph style. And I'm going to call this, let me double click on it. Oops, I actually want to double click to the left of the name or the right of the name. There we go. I'm going to call this skills. We have the word skills, but this is skills explanation. Skills explanation. I say okay. Now, as long as he was selected, he is now a skills explanation paragraph style, but it's hard to say. Now what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to get these guys to work the same way that they did as this top one. So I went ahead and make everybody body copy. Notice how everything goes. I'm going to hit my cursor, put my cursor before the D in Dreamweaver, hit the delete key, it goes to the next line, hit the return key, and again we have way too much space between these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply this paragraph style, skills explanation, to that text. And because that paragraph style doesn't have the additional space after, in fact, I can double click on it and you can see instant spacing, there's no space after it. It tightens up with this other text. So even though it seems like some of this text should look like the other text, and does to an extent, we still sometimes have to create multiple paragraph styles. So for this body copy, I had to change it to have a smaller left indent. For this, I had to make sure I had a hard return between it and the next line. I wanted it to have a smaller left indent like the description for profile, but it put an extra space after. So I had to take that out and then make a new paragraph style from that. I also applied that paragraph style here. Okay. So there's a little bit about fixing or editing paragraph styles. As long as you take your time, it's kind of easy to hurry up and change certain things. Look at that. All four of them are red now. I mean, that takes just a split second to edit stuff. Whereas if you were doing it the old-fashioned way and clicking on things and making them red, you want to swatches, let me make something red or gray or whatever, that's taking forever. So don't do that. It's a requirement that you guys use paragraph styles. So again, if I wanted to make it a different size or font, I can do that here. If I want to make it a different color, I can do that here. Okay, in just a split second. All right, so there's my video on paragraph styles and managing them once you have worked on getting your text in for Microsoft Word. Thank you.